Okay, we have 0 people watching. I think there might be 1 person watching this. Welcome, folks. I'm starting this video. If you're watching this later, after I've reposted it, then I hope you enjoy the video. So what are we going to be doing? We're going to be continuing with an illustration that I started actually last night. If I go back, this is the illustration that I did yesterday, and I thought it turned out quite well. This was a previous one that I did from, I'm not sure if I did that in the live stream. This one I did in yesterday's live stream, and I did say yesterday, this would be for anyone returning, of course, I did say I was going to get into doing a bit of watercolouring. So I was working on this morning, and the theme is sort of reimagined Victorian era. So hi Holly, Holly Flanagan, hi there. You can certainly get a shout out to Harley Flanagan. That's a shout out to Harley Flanagan. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So to anyone new here, this is my sketchbook that I'm working my way through, and how to Buddy Gaming, hi to Holly, saying hi again, and you may even be saying hi to each other, so that's lovely. So just a quick recap of the sketchbook. How, Harley Flanagan, how do I do that? It's decades of drawing since I was a child. That's how I do it. But that, you know, and a bit of imagination, looking at, you know, some reference online, but generally just coming up with ideas and then drawing them down. So I'm just going to do a quick recap, and then I'm going to get into doing some drawing. How old am I? Oh, my days. I'm probably as old as your parents, let's put it that way. I'm probably somewhere in that region. I'm not going to say how old I am. Let's just keep you guessing. Well, you can do the maths, right? I'm a child of the 70s and the 80s, so you do the maths on that. So probably by your standards, an old codger. But yeah, so I teach at Coventry University. I've been teaching games art and game design for oh goodness, a long time, the best part of 20 years. And my background before that was I used to work in movies. Did a bit of work on X-Men First Class, and I worked on a film called Kick-Ass, which you may have seen. Designed the jetpack in that, and I did a bunch of other things as well, some historical epics like Alexander and things like that. But now I teach, and I do concept stuff, and I'm just flipping through here at just some of the things I've been doing over the week. Some of it I have live streamed. Actually, it's, most of it not. Most of it I've been doing. Your parents are 5. I'm guessing that's 50. You've missed out a 0. That puts me in the ballpark. Let's put it that way. That puts me in the ballpark. But thanks for asking. So yeah, so this is just kind of give you an idea. I generally do a lot of just work from imagination, and just mainly fantasy, sci-fi, not really so much horror, kind of horror, but more fantasy and sci-fi, things like that. So this recent one, this is a real departure, and I'm not going to talk for too long. I can certainly talk as I draw along, but I'm staying with this kind of Dickensian theme, Dickensian alternate universe stuff. And the idea is that it's a Dickensian, which would be Victorian era pictures where it's a bit, I guess, steampunk. And it's not so much ghosts, it's like another dimension has broken through. There's been like a Nicholas Tesla type character who has sort of breached reality, and it's bled through into kind of creating these kind of letting these creatures come in. So it's an idea that I'm developing. There was a person who was on this stream yesterday who suggested some ideas. It's kind of almost a little bit like Ghostbusters, but not really Ghostbusters. It's more, probably a bit more serious, but it involves interdimensional creatures, I guess ghouls, stuff like that. So anyway, so for the next drawing, I'm going to be doing a kind of similar to this, but it's going to be a bit more alien. And unlike the previous streams, I'm going to be literally drawing this from scratch. I'm not starting with the pen just yet. I'm going to be leaping in with my pencil. Feel free to ask questions along the way. This is kind of what the stream's really about. It's me drawing, but also people just, asking questions about drawing, about games, movies, call it what you will. And I'll answer the best I can. So it's meant to be a little bit of a sort of social thing and stuff like that. So anyway, without further ado, Harley, yes, you meant to add a 0. Yes, I was going to say 5 is a little bit young. 50 would put me, let's put it this way, it would put me in the ballpark. I'm going to put it that way. So let's get going. So this character is going to have, excuse me. So we probably are going with maybe or maybe it could even be like a bowler hat. So kind of think like Peaky Blinders, possibly mixed with, I don't know, it could be Stranger Things. It could be mixed with, what else could it be mixed with? Maybe Guillermo del Toro, Hellboy. It's kind of somewhere in that kind of region anyway. So I'm just generally working from imagination. Just kidding. Yes, of course. Obviously just, try and use a little bit of reference here and there, but I'm just trying to come up with the ideas really. But yeah, I'm interested in developing this further. I quite like the idea of alternate universes or alternate realities, and particularly, here in the UK, there's quite a sort of rich history. We export a lot of like TV dramas, like say Peaky Blinders and other things, and a lot of that kind of mythology as well, Arthurian legends and things like that kind of come from this country. But the Dickensian era, I think, is quite fascinating. For me personally, I've not really done a lot in it. I tend to sort of do a lot of sort of fantasy stuff, whatever, and sci-fi, but I'm making a bit of a departure with this and just looking at, this kind of Dickensian theme. So all I'm doing here at the moment is I'm just blocking him. What am I drawing? This is party, let me see if I can read this right. Oh, sorry. Patrick, so I've got my glasses on, but I was too close. Patrick Wronski. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. What am I drawing? So I'm drawing a kind of alternate universe, Dickensian, interdimensional entities. So these kind of look like monsters. They could even be, perceived as being demons or ghouls, but actually they're beings from another dimension. And the idea, the concept, and just to kind of go back, sorry, apologies to people who have already heard me saying this, but I started to do these drawings and I quite like the idea. It's a little bit sort of steampunky, but this idea that there's like a Nikola Tesla type character who's ended up accidentally poking a membrane through into another reality, and then London becomes sort of filled with interdimensional entities, and everyone's kind of like living together, and what that kind of brings. And obviously it's quite oh, thank you very much, it's very cool, thank you. And what that brings, and like I say, it's very much leaning into, you could sort of say, could be like Stranger Things, Peaky Blinders, or even something like Hellboy, potentially, other worlds, overlapping into other worlds. But yeah, thank you for the kind comments. So all I'm doing at the moment is I'm just sort of blocking this in, and this is going to be a bit more of a sort of bug-eyed kind of alien type creature. The idea I've got is like something like, you remember the prawns in District 9? I could even be thinking something along those lines. I did a little kind of sketch earlier of like what I could be doing, but yeah, the prawns. Anyone's seen District 9 will know that reference, which are the kind of alien creatures that kind of that arrive in the spaceship. But there's no spaceship involved here. This is kind of more dimensions crossing over. So that's the general idea. But I'm doing this from scratch now, because usually I'll do like a sketch in and then like ink over the top. For this one, I'm going to be sort of penciling it in and just seeing where we go. You never quite know where these things are going to go. And let's see where it goes together. Obviously, if you're watching this a little bit later on, thank you for watching. And if you're just stopping by, thanks for dropping by. If you're not going to stay, that's fine, but the video will be available later. So I tend to kind of have a lot of people who kind of drop in. Some people who stay, maybe that's you like your good selves. Other people kind of, because I think other people just kind of, you know, come in, say hi, and then drop away and sort of go watching other things, which is totally cool. It's Saturday night, isn't it? You know, you kind of, you know, perhaps you're on your way out, maybe you're going out to see friends, who knows. But if you're going to stop for the duration, that'd be great. I tend to kind of like come in at around about, say, an hour. Yesterday went on a little bit longer. But yeah, I'm aiming for about an hour to kind of try and get this done. It might go a little bit longer because I am going to aim to see if I can get it, you know, do a little bit of watercolouring as well. So that's the general idea. But yeah, if you've got any questions, feel free. As I said, I'll try and answer the best I can and see where we go from there, really. So just trying to figure out, trying to figure out what I'm doing, really. I've got like a general, got kind of a vague idea. I know I want like big eyes. I want like almost like insect-like eyes. Not really any pupils. These two don't have any sort of pupils, so they're kind of, don't know. It's got to bear some relation to like the world that we're in. I'm not going to make it totally like way, way, way out there, but we'll see how we get on anyway. And so I think he's got this kind of like, more like teeth, but the teeth are also a kind of, you know, it could be like maybe not too functional. Maybe it like consumes nutrients from, you know, maybe it, you know, it doesn't, maybe it doesn't even have a like a digestive system like we have. It might like consume, for example, some form of energy like light, or you know, it could be all manner of things. But of course, because these things are interdimensional, and this goes out, of course, to anyone who's just joining this, these are going to be, these drawings that I'm doing are sort of alternate universe set in the Dickensian era, where you've got interdimensional, you could say aliens, but like interdimensional beings who've crossed over into, like, you know, the 1800s in London and inhabiting the same space. And it's kind of saying like, okay, but they're kind of adapting to London life, so they're kind of dressing the same. They're not going around naked, you know, they're using, you know, the wearing the attire of the times, but they're not from here, they're from somewhere else. So perhaps their habits are a little bit different, you know, and it's this idea of, and it could be any city in the world, to be honest, but I've just chosen London because of the Victorian, well, you know, the kind of Dickensian sort of vibe. Jacob Simpson, good drawings. Thank you very much, Jacob. That's very, very kind of you. Hope you enjoy the stream. Hope you stick around, or maybe watch the video later. You are very, very welcome. Okay, so I'm just working out this shirt or jacket now. So it's kind of got this, you know, the old-fashioned shirt, and then this kind of cravat. So they didn't really wear ties per se. It was more like kind of like ties, but more like kind of overblown cravats. Forgive me, I can't remember the actual name of what they were called. There might be some aficionados who know what they're called, but it's like a sort of cravat. And then we've got this kind of little kind of, what would it be, you know, sleeveless jacket underneath. And then we've got this kind of jacket on top. And this is going to sort of come down something like this. So I'm trying not to go too heavy with this because I'm going to be inking over it. And usually, like I say, I'll kind of prepare it beforehand and go straight into the inking. But this time round, I thought, you know what? Let's take a chance and just start working something out that we could potentially then ink into. So that's the general idea. So work my way around there, and I'm wondering if it's going to have, so usually people kept, before wristwatches they had, like, you'd have a pocket, and inside that top pocket there will be a watch, but it'd be like a pocket watch, so it'd be on a chain generally, and it'd be, the chain would, you know, the pocket watch would be inside there. So you might have seen it in movies where they kind of pull out the pocket watch and have a look and see what time it is. So that's what's going on there with that line. And then we've got the jacket, which continues. So you've got these lapels. We've got, now I'm probably going to run out of room here, but generally speaking, you'd have like a handkerchief in the top pocket there, but I think we're going to struggle a little bit there. And then beyond that, we've got the shoulder coming all the way down to beyond there. And that kind of comes down, and then we're going to got some folds. Now I might fill some of this in with some of the watercolors afterwards, so that kind of coming down. Now, shall we have a hand? He could have a hand. It could, you know, be his arm kind of coming in. I'll just have to kind of have a think about this, and also why is his arm there? So I'm thinking it could potentially be. It could potentially be smoking, possibly smoking a pipe. That could be something. A kind of interdimensional alien smoking a pipe. If that was the case, though, he probably would have it stuck out. It'd probably be something like that. He wouldn't really. He could be holding it in his hand, but there's a good chance it'd be something like that, going into the, well, whatever this is, the teeth area. And yeah, I'll have to kind of think about that and how that kind of fits in there. Could he have a feather? Could have a feather, possibly like a bird feather or something, I don't know. Something there maybe. And that'll be going through like this band on there. I don't know. I'm just thinking it through. I'm talking it through, and my talking it through is also thinking it through. So I'm also thinking what I could do with, like, why has he got his hand? Maybe he's got a drink. So again, I'm just thinking this through. What could we be doing? It could be that our character is, maybe he does have a beverage. That could be something. I don't know. Does he even drink? I don't know. But we could at least just put it in there. We may not have to kind of commit to it, but we'll see. Maybe it's a glass. Maybe it's like a glass of port or something like that. I don't know. So I'll just... And maybe just have his little pinky. That's how people do. People who are sophisticated have the little pinky finger. And this is like a little wine glass or sherry glass or something or other. I don't know. Anyway, so we've kind of got the main basics in there. I'm now looking at maybe starting to kind of firm up the drawing, maybe thinking about the eyes and what I could do with the eyes and the general face. I think at this stage, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm quite happy with it overall. This is where I'm going to start maybe just taking a chance and start thinking about inking it in. So now we're going into this phase. This is where it gets a little bit riskier because I don't really know where this is going to go. So fortune could be smiling down on me, and hopefully it kind of works out. But I don't want this to kind of, I'm just looking at the pencils. I don't want it to look like death at the moment. He's kind of looking a little bit like with hollow eyes. So I want to try and kind of bend it round a bit more and have him looking a bit more alien-like. So let's see where we go. So let's go in with the inks. Now, I don't want to go in too heavy with the ink because it doesn't really matter too much for this part, because I'm going to make these like solid black. I'm going to put like a highlight on them, so this part will be fine. So I'll be coming back to this and putting in like a little highlight. So they're going to be like very like black and shiny. But for the rest of it, I'm going to try and hold off putting too much detail in, so I can allow the watercolor then to, address some of the values. So let's just see where it goes. Okay. Pink Wolfie, scary. It is a bit scary, isn't it? Yeah, it's a little bit, at the moment, it's looking very scary. I might see if I can just turn that around, just so it's not so scary. Pink Wolfie, how old are you? You're the second person to ask that. Okay. Ballpark area, I'm in my 50s, so I am what you would call, I guess, old. But yeah, I'm a teacher, teach games art at Coventry University. So I do videos in Blender and things like that. But for this part of the channel, I stick with doing live streams with drawings, doing live drawings. So that's my story. But anyway, welcome. Welcome to the channel. Okay, let's just see where this goes. He's got these kind of tusk things, like so. he's kind of got these things going, but he's also, awkwardly, he's got this pipe. So he's smoking. So his mouth is kind of, I guess that's where it's going to be. At least what you could call the mouth. And he's got his, or its, pipe. So this is very much a human pipe. And the idea is with this, just to recap for anyone who's thinking what's going on, this is kind of like alternate universe where interdimensional beings have kind of broken through into Victorian London. So you could, if you wanted to kind of frame it, you could say, you know, Stranger Things crossed with Peaky Blinders or something like that. But not quite like that either. It's an idea that I've been working on over the last kind of couple of days, and I'm just interested to see where it could go. That's the general idea. It's okay, Pink Wolfie. Thank you very much. So again, just trying to kind of feel my way around this and just thinking where it could go. I might just, with these eyes, I might just, even though I don't like to put too much detail in before, you know, I really get into it, I want to, because the eyes seem to be like, whenever I'm doing drawings or paintings, I think you've got to get the eyes right. And I'm just looking at this thinking, like, I don't like looking at solid black. So I want to have just maybe, because this is like the specularity on this is very high, you know, like the roughness. So it's going to be ultra reflective, almost like a sort of pool ball or something like that. I just want to add these kind of like little highlights here, and even just give it a bit of a smudge. I don't want it to be too white. Just, you know what I mean? Just like enough just to make it pop a bit, just so it's not solid black. And that way then I can kind of go, oh, okay. It starts to kind of give me ideas then about the rest of it, like the tone of it. But you can see already that's kind of like made the eyes pop, which is not a very nice thought, eyes popping, but you know what I mean. So I might come back to that, but I'm going to leave that, yes. Leave it alone, Jason. Don't fiddle with it. And let's just now concentrate on the rest. So I'm going back now to the inking. How are we doing for time? It was a little bit late starting today, so it was gone 6 o'clock, but I think we're making good time. And I'm going to just see if we can make a bit of time. Just try and get the rest of this in. As I mentioned before, I want to avoid putting too much detail in there because I want to do some watercoloring, and I don't want to completely, because sometimes I can go a bit overboard with the cross-hatching. I love me a bit of good cross-hatching, but sometimes it can be a bit too much. So I want to exercise a little bit of restraint and just hold back on it, and then let the colours from the watercolours come through. So these are kind of like it is almost like not crustacean, I guess crustacean, but you know, like shrimpy. I mentioned at the beginning this is going to be almost like the prawns from District 9. That's the kind of vibe I was going for. But I want this kind of mouth area to be a bit of a mystery as well. It's like, so you don't quite know what's going on, but it does have a mouth. Possibly a bit of a chin. Well, I'm liking how this is going so far. And thank you to everyone who's dropped by as well. We had quite a few people drop by, so thank you to you for dropping by. And thank you to those who are still here. It tends to be at the moment how the streams go. People drop in, say hello, which is lovely, and then zip off and do something else, which is really nice. And I have to say, you know, I've got another YouTube channel, which again, full of lovely people. This is my own, I guess you class as like personal YouTube channel, and you generally get really lovely people there as well. And it's just a very nice thing because, you know, I don't know any of you, and sometimes, you know, when people think there's all kinds of things going wrong with the world, actually, yes, but at the same time, there are plenty of lovely people, there are plenty of good people out there, and I'm sure you are one of them. So, Gonzalex, hi Gonzalex, welcome, thanks for dropping by. Hope you enjoy the drawing. So this is, again, just to recap, this is a part of a series of drawings that I'm doing at the moment, or inkings, centered around Victorian England that's been beset with interdimensional aliens or interdimensional beings caused by a rift from a kind of Nikola Tesla type character. Wow, that's art. Well, that's very kind. Thank you, Gonzalex. It's very, very kind of you. I do a lot of digital, but I just love doing like, you know, actual, I won't say real drawing, but I love doing actual drawing as opposed to digital. I've got Procreate, I work in that, Photoshop as well, I've been doing that for years, but you cannot beat doing real drawing because this exists. What you're seeing right now exists in the world. It's not, it might be pixels on your screen, but this is the thing. This, in my little studio here, this exists and will continue to exist in my sketchbook. If you do stick around, or maybe if you watch this video later, I tend to just go through my sketchbook as well and just show some excerpts from other drawings that I've been doing, inkings. So hopefully you enjoy it. And of course, for anyone watching this now, or if you're watching it later on, if you like this content, please do like, comment and subscribe. It would be great to have you on board. I do try and stream most days. I teach games art, so sometimes if it's a little bit late in the day, it might be tricky, but generally speaking, I will endeavor to do a stream. And as long as I have lovely people like you dropping by, I will continue to stream. But thank you for the kind comments, that's really lovely. Okay, I might just give that a little bit more. I think it's because the ink was still a little bit wet. I might just add another highlight again on that eye, like so. Bit on there, maybe a bit on the eye. So these eyes are like deep black and shiny, almost like glass. Hence why there's like this kind of like sharp highlight on it. That's the idea anyway. But anyway, I'm liking how it's going so far. So far, so good. but we'll see how it goes. It's still pretty, pretty much early days. What time is it? So we're a good chunk through the stream. I think I usually aim for an hour, but I might see if I can just stretch it a little bit, because what I want to do is get this pretty much finished, at least the inking, and then have a look at doing, if time permitting, doing some watercolors. So sort of painting on top. So that's the general plan, and hopefully you stick around for that, or you watch it later. So this is where I've got to kind of resist doing too much of the cross-hatching. As much as I love it, I need to just hold back a little bit, because I'm going to be painting into this. Right. I've got a bit of an, I guess what you could call an ear. Not a very human ear, but a kind of ear nonetheless. And then we do have hair, so it is in that sense a little bit more human-like. But these are beings that have settled into human society and are dressing like humans, and becoming accustomed to human customs, and and being a bit more human-like. Like, for example, if you recall the pictures of people from this kind of era, they have like very strange mustaches, for example. So that could be what's going on here. It's kind of got these, don't know, all this kind of stuff going on with the tusks and all of that. But at the same time, there's a kind of, they're kind of fashioning their hair a little bit more like humans. Okay. So far so good. I'm liking that. I might just darken this bit down, so the bit under this kind of, whatever it is, it's not really a fedora, but it's a sort of a hat of that era. And there may even be a little bit more black there. And maybe just add a bit more here. This is just kind of like to the band. Something like that. It's a general light that's going on. It's not necessarily coming from any particular direction. It's just like a general light. Right, let's have a look at this shirt area. Now, I'm going to have this probably about there. This is going to be dark there, because I want to be able to just make these bits visible, and then we'll have the shirt. And with the shirt, we're looking at these kind of, the collars were kind of like quite starched and upright. They tended to kind of have the collars poking up back in these days. So they weren't necessarily like flat like they are these days, you know, for people who wear shirts. But very, very similar. Gonzalo X. The feeling of the tools, the texture, maybe it feels more raw, natural, and also closer to the world that you are creating compared to web design also. Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree, Gonzalo X. I think it's because like what you're seeing now with the with the pen, people were doing this hundreds of years ago. So it's the mediums were being used back then. There was no different really. Whereas if in digital, of course, then there was no digital back then. So it's got that. I absolutely agree. It's kind of got that. It's got a bit more like authentic into that kind of world. It's just an idea I've had floating around about. I'm not sure about going into the realms of doing a graphic novel, although that could be interesting. But just exploring. Someone said something really nice in the comments from yesterday when I was streaming. They said that they really had this sense of there's a story in the drawings, and that's first of all, like a really lovely comment. But that's exactly what I was aiming for, in that unlike, say, a comic, you can sort of convey a story that's going on without necessarily putting it into, like, say, a comic or something like that. So I think that's really what I'm going for. Now, could it turn into a graphic novel? Well, who knows? There could be something in that. I quite like the idea. I was taking my little dog for a walk this morning, and I was kind of daydreaming about this. I'm just thinking, oh, what if you did that? So it's a thought. I might think about it. I've got this sketchbook to get through first. I'm trying to complete this sketchbook. I've been drawing in it non-stop every single day since the beginning of December last year. So the idea is that I can try and get it filled by springtime. That's the general idea. But anyway, yeah. Feel free to just ask any comments you like. Gonzalex, that's actually a very good idea. Well, thank you. I mean, this is what I'm thinking. It might, graphic novel. I'd have to kind of I've been having some thoughts about that universe, and it's generally speaking, the idea is that it started actually, if you want to know, I was thinking something not necessarily like Ghostbusters, but it was a sort of firm, almost like a plumbing firm back in the Victorian era, and they got rid of unwanted entities from houses. So it's like very non-fantastical. It was just like a service, like unblocking a pipe. And so that's where the idea was kind of born. I was thinking, well, that could be an interesting idea, doing something like that. And then it started to evolve. Like, well, what if then that was like part of a bigger thing that's going off in like London in the 1800s, where there's just more and more of these things. And I guess it took it away then from the kind of more, like, I guess, because I was thinking like potentially like, evil spirits or monsters. And I was thinking, but if it's interdimensional like entities, that moves away then from the more like religious aspects of it into a more like, these are just beings from other universes. And of course, they're going to look strange. They may even look slightly frightening, like, whether it's demonic or angelic. But you've got a lot more to kind of play with that. So that was what it was born out of. But I've still got to flesh out the ideas with it. But that's the genesis of it. And then where it goes from there, who knows? I don't know. We're going to see, eh? Maybe it will turn into something. We shall see. Now, I'm just trying to resist putting too much detail in this, because I want to be able to paint into it. Okay. Again, I might be adding some highlights. I might be painting into some of this as well. Let's see where it goes. So we'll bring that round to there, and then I might have to kind of paint into this area because it might be getting a little bit lost. We'll see anyway. Might be getting a little bit lost. We'll see how the rest of it progresses, and then we'll look into it. I'm definitely going to paint it. So we are, yeah, so we're coming up for 7 o'clock. If I can kind of get wrapped up with this by around 7:30, that'd be good, but we'll see. I'm not in any particular hurry. I'm not going anywhere, but I just like to kind of keep these things fairly tight, because I'm sure also you've got places to go, people to see, all that kind of stuff. So put that down to there, and Little Rick's back. Little Rick's in the house. That is so cool. Good to see you back, Little Rick. Pleasure to have you back. So carrying on, as you will remember, with the sort of Dickensian entity alien theme, I've decided to develop the idea a bit more that these creatures are from another dimension, and that they've somehow inveigled themselves into London society and are living their lives, but they kind of share some of the culture from the people living in London. So it opens things up to being quite interesting. As I was saying earlier, could be something like Stranger Things cross with Peaky Blinders, perhaps. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, but welcome back, Little Rick. Hope you enjoy the stream. We're about a good part of an hour into this. I'm aiming to kind of get this done potentially for around about 7:30, something like that. So anyway. Right. I was kind of going over there. And also the danger is with a lot of this stuff is caring too much about it, because that can also be to the detriment. Whenever you're creating anything like this, sometimes, particularly if you're doing like live streaming, it's possible to get a bit more self-conscious than you otherwise would be if you were sort of doing this, without anyone watching. So it's trying to obviously just kind of bear that in mind and just do it how I would usually do it. But obviously, you tend to be kind of conscious of the fact that you don't want the entire thing to kind of go south. Right. Yeah. I think. We've got this kind of thing going on, I guess, with this arm here and this fabric. Right. And let's try and figure out this. Right. So this hand could be quite tricky. We'll have a go at it and see where it goes. I'll just turn that at a slight angle so we can get a better idea of what we're doing. Something like that. And then the part here. And then the little finger. Maybe we can have that little finger. Usually when someone's being sophisticated, they have their little finger poking out like that to show that they're sophisticated. Particularly if you're like a, I don't know, interdimensional socialite in Victorian Britain. So let's see how that works out. Little Rick, wow, sorry I missed this one. Wow, thank you very much. Gonzalex, yeah. Yeah, indeed, thank you. something like that. Yeah, it's kind of looking all right. Am I entirely happy with it? Yeah, it's all right. I think it needs a bit of work. So this is the bit where if I was doing this in Photoshop, I probably would spend in an inordinate amount of time. Whereas when you're doing it like this, you don't really have that. So I think something like this. I might indeed use the Pentel for this perhaps to kind of get that, assuming that it's glass. Just want to kind of intimate that there's liquid in there without drawing the entire thing. So something like that. And then going back to this, you'd have the the net would be coming down like so, and then you'd have the base of the glass. Could be port, could be wine, I don't know. Something like that. And then maybe even, again, just using this. Okay. And I'm tempted to just leave that a little bit unfinished, just so it's not competing with the hand. I think it's important to kind of try and finish the hand. So he's going to have something like, he'll certainly have like, he's got a shirt on, so you'll have the shirt, cuffs, like so, and it could maybe even have frills at the end, I don't know. Could have like a fancy frill. And that's probably going more into, goodness, that's like going into 1700 really. Going to that kind of region, but you know, that kind of realm, but something like that. And then we'll have that kind of, right, so this is the idea. We've got this part, this bit. I'm not happy with the neck part. It might change when I come to painting it, but we are at, what time are we at? So that leaves us about, it's now 7:14 UK time. Like I said, I'm not particularly in a hurry, but I want to see if we can get this wrapped. But again, I'm just thinking more about you than me. I'm not going anywhere, but I think it's just a good rule of thumb just to try and keep things on a limit time-wise. So I'm just going to move some of these things out of the way. I seem to be missing a, oh there it is, I can see it. Right, little watercolour brush. Okay, let's see what we can do. Colour-wise, this is going to be a sort of, I guess, like a blackish sort of colour. Let's assume the light's coming from that region there. So I think what I'll do is bring that in there. I'm going to have this as a kind of deepish red. Something like that. It's a little bit strong. And then there's a little bit of a sort of drop shadow from the hat. So you've got something like that. For the face, it's going to be, I don't know, I was thinking like olivey. Could be something like maybe that. No. Yellowy, whitey, but with a kind of grey tinge. Oh, a bit of green in there. Let's try a bit of green. I don't want to make it green like the character next to him, but you can maybe just tone it down just a wee bit. That's not looking too bad as it goes. I'm almost tempted to add a bit of a, not too much, but just a little bit of a highlight to the nose. Just a bit on the cheek there. But again, I don't want it to be too strong. Just so it's kind of catching some light. Could even put some on that ridge. Just need a bit more white. Okay. That's not good. Right. Let's maybe just have a quick look at that. A bit of red. I wasn't particularly impressed with how that came out. So I might just add a bit to that. But generally, I'm pretty happy with it so far. I think it's working well. And like I say, you never quite know where these things are going to go. All right. Well, Thanks for sticking with me, folks, with this, whether you're watching now or later on. I appreciate it. And as I said before, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. I know that this is the mantra with YouTube, but it definitely helps. You know, if you want to sort of see more content like this, it's always good just to do that. Bumps us up in the algorithm and it helps to get more followers and then encourages me to make more content. Okay, so just adding some little highlights on these, whatever they are, tentacles. Something like that. Okay, that's not looking too bad at all. I did mention before this shirt. Now, I think it's generally looking all right. It was the bit round here I wasn't massively thrilled with. So I'm going to have a look and see what I can do with this to make me happier. So first of all, we could maybe just, again, I don't want to go too deep on this, just mainly helping to define that a little bit more. And then with this part, I think what I might do is, I was aiming for something like a yellowy gold. So maybe we can have some success with this. Let's have a look and see what we can do. I just wasn't particularly thrilled. I might even go over the entire thing, add some of the white. I might then get, just bear with me while I just make a little bit of noise with the old hairdryer, and then just ink over the top. I think that's probably where I'll be happiest, I think. I just wasn't really feeling that. Okay, and just a little bit of noise coming up, folks. Let's just see if I can work into this a little bit more. Right. Something like that. That's definitely, I think that's closer to what I was aiming for with that. And I could maybe just add some highlights on that. But Little Rick, hey. Hey back to you, Little Rick. Hey back to you. Hope you're doing well. Something like that, yeah. And then for the jacket, again, I'm thinking like with the band, I'm going to tie it in with that. So that's going to be a kind of this burgundy, reddy sort of colour. Oops, I'll water that down a wee bit. Something like that. And then ditto with this. The beauty of the watercolours as well is it allows the ink to kind of come through, which is one of the reasons I've just started using it again. So it's very, very handy for that. And then probably more like slate grey for the jacket. If I can find my brush, where have I put my brush? I'll put it somewhere. I know not where. Oh, right, there we are. There we go. So again, this is going to be a bit like with the hat. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's a bit too heavy. This is where I can just allow things to kind of fade away a little bit. You know, I could aim to kind of put the rest of it in there, but I'm not. It's fine. This is the kind of focus. So I'm going to treat it as such. Something like that. And then there's that very unusual colour. Same as the face, this kind of, what would it be? Teal? I'm not entirely sure. It's not that colour. It's more the kind of teal colour. Right, good stuff. Something like that. And you can see what that looks like, maybe. Something like that. Something like that. And again, we could continue going on and on with this. I may indeed, you know, do a little bit more, but I'm tempted, whenever I do these, I want to kind of just get it finished. So when you see it in its finished state, it's finished. I'm not continuing to kind of work on it. This is part of the challenge of doing these streams, is just to kind of see if I can actually get it nailed and then it's done. There are other ones that I do when I'm not on the stream, but that's different. You know, I'll just kind of do those in my own time. But the ones I do for the stream, I just try and, like, without sounding too austere, but, you know, try and just honour the fact that I'm just doing this for you, the viewer, and that it's completed and nothing else is done to it. So you're seeing it, you know, effectively happen in real time. Anyway. Da 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 da. Ooh, still got some paint on there. And what else are we looking at? Maybe just for a bit of contrast. Just darken this down just a little bit around the top here with my ink pen, just to help bring the focus to the character's face, so something like that. Something like that. And again, I could continue working into it. I think I'm generally happy with that. I think it's, you know, it's kind of in the same sphere as these two, quality-wise. Never turns out exactly how you want it to turn out. This is interesting. You have like an idea in your mind, but it's never quite comes out how you want it to. I'm going to sign it anyway, but you know, if you were to ask me, am I happy with it? I am happy with it. I think it turned out rather well, and just another happy little addition to this little series that I'm working on. And beyond that, I'm going to continue exploring it. I might do another one tomorrow, maybe they're around about the same time. I'll see. I've got a friend to see in hospital, so see how long that's going to take. And we'll see about possibly do another one. Now, it might be in the same vein. I might be continue exploring this universe, or it might be something different. I'll see how I feel tomorrow, because tomorrow is a new day, of course. So, but that is pretty much bringing it to a close, folks. So if you have been following this all the way through, I wanted to thank you for sticking with it for all the time. I think we've probably been around about an hour and a half, something like that. So I wanted to kind of thank you for sticking with it and following it through. Let me just, before I wrap up, let me just bring this up to the screen just so you can see it. So this is the character. I'm going to put this onto Instagram as well, just to kind of show it in a bit more detail. I think it turned out rather well, actually. I quite like the quality of the line there. And these are the other characters that I did today, which you may or may not have seen on the thumbnail for the video. And then this strange creature, again, all in, like, you know, the attire from the Dickensian era, but it's with a slight twist. But yeah, very happy with that. I like the quality of it, and that is going to be the video, folks. So thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this in the future, thank you for watching it, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content. And until next time, folks, thanks for watching. Please take care, and I shall see you in the next one. Okay, take care, folks. Bye for now.